West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is all that
Fallout 76 is a monumental release not only for Bethesda Game Studios, but for the entire gaming industry. Now, you may think that comment is full of it, but hear me out. In this video, I'll be talking about a couple of reasons why I think Fallout 76 release is so important. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to give you a little history about their games. Elder Scrolls and Fallout. That's all they've been making for over 15 years, no surprise there. But what all of their games have in common is that they are exclusively single-player games. No co-op and no multiplayer. Now, they've built a reputation for themselves in the gaming industry by making enthralling worlds geared around the singular experience. Now, this is the first reason why I think Fallout 76 is so important. You know, they've never done anything like this. Which is a little bit scary, honestly, because, well, you know, some Bethesda games are known to have a few bugs and glitches, and apparently developing a multiplayer game is a bit difficult in comparison to developing a single-player one. Now, they are definitely flexing their creativity and experimenting out of their comfort zone. Now, with that said, only time will tell if they pull it off, and man, I really hope they do.
Not all Vault 76 dwellers will be so hostile. Find them and brave the new world together.
People have wanted some sort of multiplayer in their games ever since Morrowind, and probably Daggerfall for that matter, which is another reason why this game is so monumental. Some people may not have wanted a multiplayer experience exactly like what they've shown so far, but hey, it's multiplayer in a Bethesda game, so you can't go wrong, I suppose, but we'll find out, only time will tell.
Run like a rabbit, fly like a bee. No matter what you do, you'll never get away from me because I'm right behind you, baby.
I'm still a bit stunned. This is actually happening. For me, ever since I played Oblivion, I've always wanted to explore Bethesda's worlds cooperatively with my brother. The worlds they make are so richly detailed, and the exploration of these worlds is always a soothing and relaxing experience. I've always wanted to share that experience with my brother, who has been my co-op partner ever since Halo Combat Evolved. Now, I personally think Fallout is a better fit for co-op when compared to Elder Scrolls, and apparently so did Bethesda. And yeah, I know Fallout 76 isn't going to be just a co-op experience. There is some player versus player stuff as well, which I'm still a little on the fence about. But what I do like about the messaging we've heard so far from Todd Howard and Pete Hines is that they're hoping this will be a unique multiplayer experience, and people will just kind of make the game their own. Now, as far as I understand it, they're giving players many different avenues of play. You can play cooperatively with up to 4 players, I believe, and whether folks want to go it alone is entirely possible too. But I personally think that may end up being a little dull. I'll explain why later in the video, when I speculate how exactly Bethesda are going to pull this game off.
After thermonuclear war, man's towering industrial marvels may no longer stretch to the heavens.
Ever since Oblivion, Bethesda Game Studios has been alternating between their 2 big franchises each time they've released a game. Oblivion to Fallout 3, to Skyrim to Fallout 4. They haven't done a contiguous release ever since Morrowind to Oblivion, so I consider that a pretty big deal. Now, this really makes sense, though, considering the amount of time and work they put into each one of their games. After all, they build these massive worlds with hundreds, if not thousands, of new assets specifically built for each game, so it makes sense to reuse some of those assets and continue building upon their library. Now, when I say assets, I'm really talking about the 3D mesh objects like weapons, books, and all the random junk we're used to seeing in a Bethesda game. Anyways, it makes sense to reuse at least some of those assets while building new ones for each new title in a franchise. As far as I can tell, they don't reuse assets from game to game. Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim all use their own unique assets, which is the same for Fallout 3 to Fallout 4. Now, there may be a few assets here and there that they repurposed or revamped, but for the most part, I believe they make everything from scratch. And please correct me if I'm wrong on that. When I was playing through Fallout 4, I often thought how impressive it was that they put such an immense amount of detail into a world, only for it to be used for just that game. Bethesda puts a tremendous amount of work into building and crafting their worlds. So yeah, good on them for being a little proud of their work and reusing some assets from Fallout 4. It definitely makes their process easier and more streamlined. And this is another reason why I think Fallout 76 is so important, if only for the fact that it's been a lot easier for Bethesda to develop. Now, obviously, the whole fact that we're finally getting multiplayer in a Bethesda Game Studios release is reason enough for its importance. These guys are titans within the industry, with titles that some may argue are some of the greatest games of all time. When Bethesda reveals a game, people listen. Every game they've released has been monumental, and they've quite literally shaped the future of gaming. Make no mistake, when Bethesda makes a move, the entire gaming industry moves with them. Now sure, they might be a bit behind the times, considering everyone and their mother has been doing online multiplayer for decades now, but with the release of this game, Bethesda is heralding in a whole new era for gaming. Fallout 76 is an indication of what Bethesda wants to do in the future. At least this is what I think.
So that if the bombs do come, if the end does come, our way of life will endure.
Now, I just hope they fully commit to the single-player aspects in their future games, because that may be something that is severely lacking in 76. I'll explain here in a second, but they've already made it perfectly clear that this game is going to be something completely different from what we're used to from them. Which brings me to what I think this game is going to be.
But hearts and minds, and ultimately, America itself.
Okay, now from what I've seen and heard in interviews so far, I can presume this game is going to be a shoot and loot cooperative experience with a light story and quest elements that are focused on just shooting stuff with your buddies, while also trying to avoid getting nuked by other players in the world. So yeah, if you're expecting lengthy dialogue trees, player choices, interesting NPCs and the like, you know, the kind of stuff we're used to from Fallout games, I think that will be nearly completely absent in this game. Which is why I think this might be a rather dull experience if you try to go it solo. Apparently there are no NPCs in the world, which, yeah, I'm with most of you folks. I don't know how to feel about that if it is true, but it's looking more and more likely. The developers have been awfully secretive about how you get quests, but they have implied that the Overseer of Vault 76 is one of the quest givers. Now with that said, I think the Overseer will just be a voice, considering what they've already said about there being no NPCs in the world.
I hope you all enjoyed the party last night, even those who may have overindulged.
In fact, I think that's how a lot of the quests will play out. You find an item in the world with a story behind it, perhaps a holotape recording, and it will pop a quest. Or you find a location in the world, or a particular creature, and that will pop a quest. I think how you acquire quests will be a lot more dynamic and connected to the environment, rather than going through the standard dialogue chain with a tangible NPC. Although, it has been hinted that some robots will be quest givers as well, and if you want my opinion on that, robots are NPCs, I think, so I don't know what Bethesda is on.
Please, don't insult my intelligence.
Anywho, with that said, I do think a lot of the quests will be dependent on world exploration, which I am totally down for. The exploration aspects of Fallout 4 and Skyrim were my favorite parts of those games. Not saying the gameplay and like the gunplay and stuff wasn't amazing, but the exploration is what made those games for me.
It allows us to have 16 times the detail and even view distant weather systems across the map.
So, if Bethesda puts in the same amount of detail and minutia into their vision of post-apocalyptic West Virginia, they've already made a game that I will really enjoy. I do enjoy me a good shootin' and lootin' type of experience, especially when I'm playing with my brother. But I also really enjoy all the quirky NPCs and story interactions we're used to seeing in Fallout games. Hopefully at least some of that quirkiness and dark humor is still present in this game, because without that, would it really be a Fallout game?
He may now be coming over for murder.
Anywho, with what they've shown so far, we can at least expect a shootin', lootin', and explorin' type of experience. Now, one thing's for sure, I can't wait to explore the wastelands with my brother. I just hope we don't get constantly nuked by toolbag douchewiggles.
Will your bomb land on a rival camp of degenerates? A random stranger? The local wildlife?
Now, there is one last thing I should mention. Hype. It happened to me with Fallout 4, and now it's happening again with Fallout 76. I'm already going through the same stages of anticipation that I experienced for Fallout 4. And I'm just super excited, especially for that Power Armor Edition. I'm totally going to wear that helmet everywhere. So yeah, my brother and I are really looking forward to this game, and I just want to make note of that for the record, because it really does have the potential to become something special for both of us.
"300 years after our great nation began, we gathered together to honor the completion of Vault 76.
Anywho, that's all I have for this video. Basically, I just wanted to focus on why I think Fallout 76 is going to be a monumental release. It has the potential to change the gaming industry, and it really indicates what direction Bethesda Game Studios is heading in the future. After all of these years of making single-player games, they are leaving their comfort zone and experimenting with new and risky game mechanics. Yeah, maybe I'm the only one that thinks and feels this way, because I will admit I'm a bit biased. I really enjoy Bethesda games, even with all of their janky quirks. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about the whole release of Fallout 76 and multiplayer in Bethesda games, so please let me know what you think in the comments below. Anyways, there is still so much more to talk about in regards to the game's mechanics, like how player versus player interactions will play out, and whether or not there are still buildings and caves and stuff which require loading before you can enter them. We'll find out all of these things in good time, but in the meantime, I hope you'll check out my channel, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, dislike it if you didn't, but I hope you do stick around as I have cool plans for the future of this here channel. Thanks guys!
Take me home, country road.
In Vault 76, our future begins.